Welcome to the September 14th Complete Streets Commission meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Complete Streets Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. I would like to introduce Complete Streets Commission members and staff present. I'm Chair Sally Cole. Commissioners present include Brian Ottman, Katie Baruzzi, J.K. Jensen, and Christopher Coleman. Commissioners absent include Lisbeth King and Jackie Sebrian. Staff present include Kevin Chen and Patrick Palmer, and I think Hugh Flouch, I believe. Patrick, would you please provide instructions to the Complete Streets Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, and thank you, Chair Cole and members of the Complete Streets Commission. Welcome everyone to the September 14th Complete Streets Commission meeting, and thank you all for attending. At this time, we ask that the members of the Commission please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage webcams and microphones to make presentations and respond to the members of the Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raised hand feature. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Complete Streets Commission. For those members of the public who are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, you can also press *9 to raise your virtual hand. That concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you, Patrick. Now we will do reports and announcements. Under reports and announcements, staff and commission members may communicate general information of interest regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this commission. No commission discussion or action can occur on any of the presented items. Kevin, I think you have a report and announcement.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So just a couple quick updates on City Council action since we last met back in July of this year, actually. So the first and foremost is that the City Council further authorized a couple 15 miles per hour zones for schools that were not part of the list in the first go around. So for this second go around, we have three specific schools, two within the city of Menlo Park and one in coordination with the county. So the two that within the city of Menlo Park are the New Beginning School on Middle Avenue. So essentially it will allow us to extend the 15 miles per hour zone that was previously approved. And then the second location is Tide Academy on Jefferson Street. So we'll be able to extend those sections, implement them with 15 miles per hour. And then the third school is Willow's Angel. That one does require county collaboration as well. So with the city council's approval, that then allow us staff to engage communication with the county, which we have done since. The second item is far more, I think, definitely high level would be the Middle Avenue. So some of you might know that staff went to the city council last night with a set of proposals for the Middle Avenue, which the commission have heard and provided input on as well. And through the meeting, obviously, we had a really great conversation between the council members as well as members of the public. And ultimately, the city council directed staff to go back and explore the option of a pilot program, which with the intent of implementing bike lanes by removing parking on both sides of Middle Avenue. And this would be for the entire stretch of the Middle Avenue. So with that being said, there is a that does necessitate a scoping of a child evaluation. So as a result of that, staff is going to go back to the table, establish a pilot program evaluation with the goal of returning back to the city council sometime in October, so that we can get approval and proceed with the child design and all the necessary steps to proceed the project. So with that, I will conclude my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I will add a little bit of my perspective on last night's city council meeting. And Katie, I know you dialed in, perhaps others did as well on the commission. Please feel free to chime in, but I'm providing my perspective and summary because maybe some of you didn't have a chance to dial So after all the work that was done, all the hard work by city staff for sure, all the public outreach, our 2 commission meetings, and then I also attended a community meeting in Lyle Park a few Saturdays ago that was called together by District 5 councilperson Ray Mueller and District 4 councilperson Betsy Nash. And in that meeting got more public feedback. Last night's meeting to me was in many ways very exciting because it was finally like, here we are, you know, after all this work, hearing what each council person thought of the recommendations that we all worked really hard on. And of course, you know, getting additional public feedback last night. There were a lot of people who called in. In the end, as Kevin said, the biggest outcome was that there was support from the council to consider removing parking on both sides of the street, but there was consensus that it would be best to pilot it. And so, of course, as Kevin said, back to the staff to design a pilot. But there were some other things that were discussed, some other elements of the plan that I want to provide my perspective on. And if Kevin, your perspective differs, please let me know. But I think overall, there's been strong consensus and support around some elements of the plan, like the Blake Street temporary closure pilot. Seems to be something that there's a lot of consensus around. The other thing that was discussed last night was making the 30 miles per hour speed limit on a portion of Middle 25 miles per hour to conform with the rest of the street, so it's consistent throughout the corridor. And that was also received support from all. The other thing that was interesting was to hear the commissioners speak about the 4-way stop on San Mateo. I think we all know that some members of the public didn't agree with that, but commissioners were generally supportive of the 4-way stop. And I haven't heard any objection at all. It wasn't discussed, but I haven't heard any objection at all to the blinking light crosswalk that we had, that staff had proposed for the Arbor Road crossing. So there was a lot of consensus all around on some of the excellent suggestions that staff had come up with. And the only thing I left with a little bit of a what's next on, and I don't know, is the roundabout. I think generally people, the city council members seemed to support piloting it in the University and Middle intersection. I don't know what the next steps are. I think one council member, maybe Councilmember Wollison might have expressed some concerns, but by and large, I think we should feel really proud of the way the process was managed and grateful to the city staff for proposing such good alternatives. And I do want to mention finally that quite a few of the members of the public who spoke last night praised this work of the city staff, the responsiveness of the city staff, and all the outreach, and even mentioned the commission in that. So I think we should all feel really proud of that. That's all that I have. Does anyone want to add to that? Is that a no? No? Okay. Well, let's move on to public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I should just mention quickly that when I spoke last night at the meeting, I did express my personal opinion that after spending more time on the street and looking at more public feedback, I was supportive of removing parking on both sides. Okay. Public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the Complete Streets Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Patrick, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair Cole. Yes, so far it looks like we have 2 public comments. For anyone who might have recently joined us, just raise your virtual hand, or if you're calling in, you can press *9, excuse me, if you do have a public comment. So first, it looks like we have David W.
Can I talk about the, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, can I talk about the parking line extension project on East O'Keefe Street, like 190 East O'Keefe Street?
I think we have to wait until we bring that up as an agenda item. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yeah, that is correct,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. So yeah, so if David, if you don't mind, wait until the item is presented.
Sure,
and
no
then,
problem.
yes, thank you very much.
Yes, now we're taking public comment on items that are not on the agenda for tonight.
Next, it seems we have a public comment from Romain Tenier. You're now the public speaker.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Romain Tenier, East Palo Alto resident in the Camino neighborhood. Dear commissioners, East Palo Alto Public Works is now actively working on Camino Drive rehabilitation and improvements. With the multiple planned Menlo Park development projects along O'Brien and Adams, including the connection with Willow Village, commons have been provided in the last several years to improve pedestrian, bicycle, safety street improvements. It would be great to see a comprehensive detailed plan and execution timeline for the Menlo Park, O'Brien, Adams, Camino, Willow, University area at an upcoming relevant commission or city meeting. I would say that at a minimum, the continuation of the sidewalks between Camino Drive, East Palo Alto, and Camino Way, Menlo Park is long overdue and urgently needed. This should be pursued as soon as possible, especially that the Polytech building at the corner of O'Brien and Camino is now vacant. Thank you very much in advance for your support, and I'm looking forward to have that agenda topic at a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for providing your point of view. Appreciate your perspective. All right, then, let's then go to regular business, if that's all, Patrick, for public comment.
Yes, it looks like that's all for now.
Okay, thank you. So under regular business, the commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require commission approval. The first thing on the agenda for regular business, E1, is to accept the Complete Streets Commission minutes for July 13th of 2022. Any clarification from the commission members before I take public comment? Okay, nothing. I had one point of clarification, and this came up. I made this point at the city council meeting last night as well. Perhaps, Kevin, you can just slightly revise the first bullet under action where it states, at least in my opinion, and we should get Q to agree to this minutes edit, but I think there's been some slight confusion about the motion that the commission agreed on for the July 13th meeting regarding parking removal. I believe that the the minutes state that we said we were recommending one side of the street removal, looking into areas where parking would be difficult to remove. But I've looked back at that language several times. In the actual motion, the language was a bit different. It didn't reference removing on one side of the street. It actually referenced that we supported, we supported some level of parking removal and to ask the staff to explore where on-street parking was critical to preserve. The reason that's important to me to correct is that last night in the comments that Councilmember Mueller was making, he was concerned about giving the public the impression that the commission had recommended kind of removing one side of the street parking, and then, you know, the council might be going further, et cetera. But we actually didn't make that specific, the recommendation wasn't really phrased that way, that we were recommending one side of the street. It was really, we were recommending some level of parking removal. So that would be the one edit I would make. If staff has any issues with that, please let me know, and I can I can send an email to staff just with the language. I would recommend that it would be the verbatim language from what the motion was, if that's helpful.
Yeah, and I apologize for misinterpreting the motion that the commission has. So at this moment in time, I believe if the other commissioners are in agreement to under the sentiment that the chair expressed, perhaps we can have a motion and a second to essentially make that edit and approve the minutes, and then we can certainly revise the verbiage to be a little bit more precise to the intent of the commission.
I would make that motion.
Okay.
Move that we make that the subtle, but in this case, important edits that Chair Cole has suggested.
Thank you.
Great. So we have a motion. Can I have a second?
Yeah, I can second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Jensen. Okay, so with that in mind, those commissioners that would like to vote yes to the motion with the recommended edits, if you can please raise your hands and just hold it up for a few seconds. I believe that's unanimous. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Patrick, do we have any public comment on this item?
It does not look like we have any public comment.
Okay. Well, then let's move on to E2, which is the priority business of this meeting, to recommend the adoption of resolutions number 2022-3-5 to remove parallel on-street parking spaces on East O'Keefe Street, Roble Avenue, and University Drive. I'd like to introduce Fu. Am I getting your name right? Fu, can you pronounce that for me? Just don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, that's correct. That's my name.
Okay, Fu. When you're going engineering technician, City of Menlo
Yes.
Park. Very happy to have you here, and thank you for making a presentation around this proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay.
So while Fu is pulling up the presentation, just wanted to remind the commissioners that while this is being presented as a single item, these are actually 3 independent requests, and therefore we have 3 independent resolutions that the commission will need to take actions on, right? So with that, I will pass the baton to Fu. Thank you, Fu.
Okay. So good evening, Madam Chair, commission members, member of the public, and everyone else are here tonight. My name is Fu. I'm with the Transportation Division with the City of Menlo Park. The reason I'm here tonight is to present to you a proposal to make changes on parking space removal at 3 different locations in our city, namely O'Keefe Street, Roble Avenue, and T-section at University Drive and Live Oak Avenue. So in the past, we received email as also phone call from people who live at those locations, express the concerns that they have very, very limited line of sight when they make the turns at the location. So upon receiving their notification, I went out there to the field to verify the claim and did my analysis. So as you can see, my screen right here is the first location. This is the 190 East O'Keefe Street driveway. The second location that we're looking at right now is on Roble Avenue, same thing, apartment complex. And the third location we're looking at right now is a T-section along Live Oak and University Drive. So now let's take a closer look at each of the location. The first one, this is East O'Keefe Street. So as a driver exiting the driveway of the apartment complex, he or she either look to the left or to the right, would definitely experience a very, very limited line of sight with very short red curve. Currently, this photos on Roble Avenue is definitely say it all. Not only it parked close, very close to the existing short red curve, but it's an oversized vehicle. So that definitely reduce their line of sight. So at the third location, on one side is already the bike lane, so it's not an issue. However, on the right side is only a 3-foot red curve, so it is experiencing the same problem with the other two locations I mentioned earlier. So according to American Association of State Highway and Transportation Official, any street with 25 mph speed limit, the requirement stop and side distance must be 155 feet. So at first location, I recommend to remove total 3 parking spaces, 1 on the north side and 2 on the south side. And by doing so, it will turn into a 48-foot of additional red curve to increase the left side for the drivers. Second location, same thing, that the one that you saw of oversized vehicle. So on each side of the driveway, I recommend to remove 2 total 4 parking spaces, and that would equate to 68 additional foot of red curve. Lastly, on the T section of University Drive and Live Oak, we need to remove 2 spaces on the north side, and that equate to 27 foot of additional red curve. So total among the 3 locations that I mentioned earlier, we need to remove 9 parking spaces. So when I did the analysis, we sent out postcard, airframe, and we communicate with the publics. And I received 6 emails from the publics, and out of 6, 5 of them show strong support of the changes, and 1 against it. And the reason for against it, because he or she definitely need the spot. However, he or she is saying that the best solution is to educate people how to turn, not to remove parking spaces. I acknowledge the comment. However, the majority of the public show support of the changes. With that, I conclude my presentation right now. I thank you for your time and your consideration of the changes, and I'm ready to have any question you might have.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Thank you, Fu. Do I have any clarifying questions from commission members before we take comments from members of the public? I had a couple, but I'm waiting to see if anyone else does.
I'm
No one-
raising both hands.
Yes. Oh, you are. Oh, goodness, here I am. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Katie, your hand is raised. You go first.
So I was a little confused. So when I was looking at the staff report, it looked like 2 spaces to the north and south at University and Live Oak, but there's a bike lane. Can you show that again? Like, I think I know what this is, but I just want to double check.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to share the screen right now, okay?
Sure.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Well, it's loading.
Okay, loading.
We're going to wait. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so that on the north side, the 2 parking space need to be removed, but on the south is actually a bike lane, existing bike lane.
Oh, okay. So it's different from, all right, great. It looks different in the staff report. I was confused about that. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So there you go. Okay. So I had a couple questions. Last night, one of the things that we were asked about in the city council meeting, which was an educational experience for me, was kind of when we say we do outreach, what exactly does that mean? So what was the outreach that was done here? You said there were postcards were sent for the people in that vicinity. Can you or Kevin, can you describe to me sort of what is the standard procedure? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you. There
so
you go.
this is the map at the first location.
Okay.
And then this is also the second map. I mean, the map of the second location.
Yes.
And as well the third map. So these are the people that we sent postcards out, but we also place airframe posters at the proposed location.
Good. Posters were done as well. Excellent. And then you said you received sort of one dissenting email. And what location was that for?
This is on Roble Avenue.
Roble Avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, they said people should be learning how to turn rather
Right.
than removing the spaces. Okay, okay. So one thing I wanted to thank you for and acknowledge is that the photos you were taking from O'Keefe and Roble and Live Oak were all from the perspective of the car exiting. So thank you for making the effort to take the photos that way. Because when I was sort of maneuvering around today, trying to see these different parking situations, I was trying to look from that perspective as well. And for me, both O'Keefe and Roble, looking from that perspective of the driver exiting their apartment complex, it was very clear that the lines of sight were pretty terrible. So I approve of the recommendations, or I agree with the recommendations you're making. The only question I had was, it looked to me on O'Keefe that the recommendation was to remove one parking space to the left as you're exiting, the left of the person exiting. I know that you're following the requirement of the 155 feet, but I wondered one of the things that wasn't quite clear in the photos, it's hard to capture, is that if you're leaving the apartment complex on O'Keefe and you're looking left, it is a really sharp curve there. You're looking left, but you really don't have great visibility for anyone who's going to come roaring around that curve on O'Keefe there. It's a tricky exit for sure. So I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable just removing one space there instead of maybe two there on the left of the exit. Am I getting it? That are you removing two spaces to the south and one to the north? Am I looking at it right?
Yeah, you're looking at it right, Madam Chair. The reason why it's being moved, two on the south and one on the north, because definitely on the map, I don't know if you can see my screen right now, it's a curved road. And somebody exiting the apartment complex and park right at the edge of the driveway, if he or she look to the left because of the curve, so he or she have the ability to see more of a distance, the line of sight will be better. Therefore, I recommend to remove just one rather than two, because I play myself as a driver who's sitting there, and I was able to see along the line of sight. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
That's the reason why I recommend one instead of two, as the other location would be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And any other comments from commissioners before we move to public comment? Any other clarifying questions? Okay. Patrick, can you help us out with public comment?
Just to cut in, it did look like Commissioner Baruzzi had another comment, possibly.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Commissioner Baruzzi?
I did, but I'm scared to open this can of worms, but I'm just going to say it. It looked like this intersection on Roble definitely made sense, but is it the only intersection on Roble that has this sort of like sight distance problem?
No, the different apartment complex or different location along this street has also problem. But then I remember a while back we were saying, okay, should we do a blanket approach throughout the city, or we take one at a time? And so right now we focus on this specific request, and definitely in the future, I don't know when, but that might maybe added to the next consideration when it's come around.
Okay.
Looks like Brian is open.
Yeah,
Brian, thank you, Katie.
Thank you, thanks. Related to Katie's question, I had a question about how does this come up? How does this specific these specific changes come up? Is there a backlog of changes, or these were recently requested? What's the process that stimulated these changes?
Okay, I myself managed these, and in the past, I received one change request, for example, on Shem Road or on University Drive, But for the last few months, I would say 6 months, I received more than once. So and then my supervisor, which is Kevin Chan, decided to have 3 in 1 right now. So your question is, how does this would be? So the flow would be somebody request for it. I came out there, verify it to make sure their claim indeed are correct, and then come back and do analysis based on what we have, and then based on the schedule of the commission meeting that we have, and my supervisor will let me know which meeting will include it. And tonight we have 3 instead of 1 and in the past. I'm sure there will be in the future, but I don't know when yet.
So is there a master backlog of requests, or is there no backlog at all? These are recent requests.
Yes, sir. These are I wouldn't say recent, but one of this has been 6 months old, and once somebody requests for it, we will respond right away. So this is the most recent, but I wouldn't say it's old. It's less than 4 months old request,
Okay.
and we don't have a backlog, a lot of these yet.
Is there a master backlog list that is visible
To the public?
to us, to the public?
We have a system of keeping requests from resident, but as far as parking removal, we don't have it. We respond to the request right away, and these are the most recent one.
Well, I think it's great that we're responding to the public for sure. I just was wondering if there was a master list on, or because I live 3 blocks from Roble, and I'm sure the parking is important, but there's a lot of parking problems. A lot of line of sight problems. I mean, just down the street, a couple blocks, Drager's is a mess, for example. I was just wondering how the requests bubble up. So thank you. Yeah.
If I could just jump in here real quick too. Yeah, so definitely, as Fu mentioned, certainly we are taking more of a reactive approach here. So to answer Commissioner Altman's question, we're definitely receiving phone calls, emails from individual residents, through myself, many other of our transportation colleagues. We all receive this type of emails in the past. We also have C-Fix, which is a platform online that allows residents to basically submit a request, any type of transportation request. There are additional topics on there as well, such as sidewalk repair, et cetera, et cetera. We also have this program, Cartograph, where we are getting public requests as well. So there are definitely different avenues that a general public, a public resident member can make a request, stemming from emailing the staff directly to submitting a online platform.
Thanks. Is there a single list then? A single backlog list that consolidates all those requests?
We have one internally. We have, as staff, we do keep all the requests internal. We have an internal list that we are currently keeping. But like Fu mentioned, we have this is currently the last, basically the last 3 requests of this type of nature. And so that therefore they are here before you tonight.
Thanks.
Excuse me, Commissioner Altman, may I ask a question following up on what you raised? Is any of your question have to do with like public awareness of this process existing? Or just the tracking of the requests?
The public awareness.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because in the meeting we were at the park, that also came up, was somebody raised the question, is there a master list that's visible for the Middle Street feedback? But I was more interested in just a general list that was available to the public so they could see all the requests that are being made, just as a way of engaging the public. That was yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'll follow up with you, Kevin, on sort of the transparency and availability of that kind of information. Thank you, Commissioner Allman. Okay, so if no other clarifying questions from commission members, Patrick, will you let us know if we have any public comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair Cole. We currently have 4 public comments. I'd like to start with Carol Collins. You're now the public speaker.
Hi, I'm Carol Collins, and I live in Atherton, but I own residential units on Roble Drive, Roble Avenue, excuse me. It is a street that has lots of driveways that are like the one you're discussing, narrow and pulling out. However, Roble gets a lot of overflow parking from downtown Menlo Park because you don't have to pay. There's also a lot of overnight parking because the apartments don't have enough on-site parking. And I wonder if the one 660 Roble even has, if there's any permits outstanding for overnight parking, because then it's not fair to push it over to somebody else's property. And down at that end by El Camino, there's always a lot of cars. So I feel like you're really removing parking that is needed, whether it's during the day or overnight. There's also a problem with getting one's trash bins out because there's so much parking that sometimes it's hard to find a place to put the bins either in front of yours or the neighbors. So I do not support removing parking. And I think if they're truly concerned about safety, they have a huge bush that totally limits their line of sight. The bush is, I don't know, 20 feet high and comes right up actually over the sidewalk some, because I was looking very closely at it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Looks like next we have David W. You are now the public speaker.
Hi, David here. So a little bit background. I used to live on 480 East O'Keefe Street, and now I live at 190 East O'Keefe Street. And I can say I know this street from like literally back to back. And this morning, around 9:30, I was hit by a car coming out of their apartment complex around 280 East O'Keefe Street. And I think the main reason is there's a trash can at the curb that blocks the driver's view from while they're exiting their complex. And that driver does not live here. He's visiting a friend who live here. So he is not familiar with the situation on this street. Like even I'm familiar with the situation on the street, I still got involved into an accident. So yes, people should learn how to turn, but there are people who visiting or who are just passing by and who is not familiar with the situation on this street, and they probably are not used to this kind of scenario, and accident happens. And I would also say that even on the existing park, like fire lanes that you should not park, there are people park on those lines from time to time, further blocking the view. So I would say, A, we need to extend those parking lines, especially on the East O'Keefe Street. And B, we need some sort of enforcement so people don't park on those fire lanes. Especially, and there's a third factors we might take into the consideration is, I noticed from time to time, some cars are driving pretty fast on East O'Keefe Street. Maybe it's because of lack of traffic enforcement, but they will not suddenly miraculously slow down when they hit Menlo Park side of the East O'Keefe Street. So with that in mind, the dangerous level of making turns when you're exiting the complex exits has significantly increased. So with all things considered, I would strongly recommend it that we extend those parking lines and we enforce it so people don't park on it. That's all.
May I ask a clarifying follow-up question? David, when you say extend the parking lines, can you be very specific about what you mean, what exactly you're recommending?
to the extent of the current proposal, like beyond existing parking line, like as to the proposal.
Oh, so you agree with the proposal to remove the 3 spaces?
Yes, yes. By parking lot, I actually mean fire lane.
I see. I see. I'm so sorry you were hit this morning.
Yeah, it's fine. Nobody got hurt.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. The next public speaker is Sarah Fernandez.
Hi, I'm one of the residents of 190 O'Keefe Street. I have lived here for the past 18 years. I'm very familiar with the situation. And it is true that there's no line of sight when we come out of the complex many times. The picture that was shown today, it had a sedan parking there, and you have already low visibility. If there's a pickup truck or if there is a van parked there, you don't see absolutely anything. You just have to try to get out and not be hit. So I completely agree with the proposal of extending the red curve. I would like to suggest that instead of having one parking spot extended, one parking spot extended on the north and 2 on the south, you will switch those, because when there's a van, you don't see anything. And the first line that you encounter when you come out are the cars that are coming from the north. Once you are out, you can already see what's coming on the street for both sides. But the first cars that you encounter are the ones coming from the north. So my recommendation is that you consider switching and having 2 parking spots removed from the north side and 1 parking spot removed from the south side. I also agree with what David just said. There's a lot of cars that park in the existing red curve. So we need some kind of enforcement mechanism. I have called the non-urgent line of the police many times. Most of the time, I don't think that they come here. I would like also to suggest if there's the possibility of putting bollards that actually prevent cars from parking there, because otherwise we are just wasting paint and nothing is going to happen. Again, I fully support the proposal, and I thank the Commission for considering this issue.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Nina Arnberg. You are now the public speaker.
Hello, my name is Nina Arnberg. I also live at 190 East O'Keefe, and I agree with Sarah and David. I unfortunately also was involved in a car accident on Friday, not at this corner, but just around the way in Minalto. And I've lived at this residence for 2 years. Coming out of East O'Keefe, I am constantly worried that my car will be hit, that children going and walking to school will be hit, people on bikes, people walking with strollers will be hit. The line of sight there nothing is visible when you're turning out. And as Sarah mentioned, I have a whole suite of photographs that I take every morning where there's a car parked on the existing red lines. There is never enforcement. And now it's become chronic where you come out in the morning and you're like, here are the 2 cars on these 2 sides. So I think that this is a liability for Menlo Park City, that they're not addressing the line of sight issue. And I'm thankful that it came up today. And I also strongly encourage that enforcement is ramped up in this area. I'm really fearful for all the people who live here, drive here, walk here, go to school here. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my comment.
Nina, thank you. I'm sorry you were involved in an accident as well. That's tough to hear. I hope you're okay. Are there any other public comments, Patrick?
Yes, it looks like we have one more from username L Myers. You are now the public speaker.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lyra Myers, and I also live at the property at 190 East O'Keefe, and I have lived at this property for 19 years now. So I can validate and concur with the comments that my other neighbors have expressed. I would also like to add the comment about the blind curve to the left when you pull out. We also have a problem of not only people not respecting the red line and parking, but we also have the problem with excessive speed coming down that street and double and triple parking, which is quite amazing given that it's not that wide of a street. So very frequently there are delivery trucks or utility trucks double parked on that blind curve, which further reduces the line of sight coming in and out of the property. And I would agree, every day when we come out, there are cars parked in the red, frequently even protruding into the actual driveway. So this is a big problem. I would recommend removing that second parking space as Sarah recommended, because the majority of us, in fact, I believe, are turning left as opposed to turning right, but the line of sight because of that curve is very, very challenging. And again, enforcement continues to be a huge issue. So if there is another alternative besides just putting red paint down, understand our city staff is probably very understaffed, as most cities are. So if enforcement continues to be an issue, what are the alternatives to make that a safer intersection?
Linda, may I ask you a clarifying question? You said, I think that you've lived there for 18 years or so?
19, yes.
19. So are there conditions that have changed that have made this more unsafe, in your opinion, recently?
There's huge parking density on that street because of the multi-unit housing properties that have continued to be built up on that street. I also, I guess, would raise, and I realize this is a Menlo Park conversation, but East Palo Alto is considering additional high density properties further down that street, which I think is only going to increase the capacity issues on that street in terms of driving and parking as well. So I think that has certainly exacerbated it. Quite frankly, in 19 years, people are having bigger cars too, right? So people don't have the small compact vehicles that they used to. And I appreciate that the day that that the engineer came out, there was a small compact car parked there, but more often than not, it's a large SUV. There's a person who has his own tire repair company who parks a mobile tire repair oversized truck there regularly. So yeah, and it completely blocks the line of sight when you're turning left.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your comment.
Yeah, and thank you for raising this up. We do appreciate it.
Of course. Patrick, are there any further public comments?
I'll give it one more second, and for anyone who might have just joined us, if you have a public comment on this item, please just raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. I believe that is it on the public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
One person raised her hand, Maria.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just saw that.
Thank you, Katie.
I think Sarah Fernandez and Nina Arbeg already commented, but Maria, someone named Maria had raised her hand. Or no, maybe, did we not hear from Sarah Fernandez?
We heard from Sarah. Is there Maria? Yeah, there's Maria. She says to unmute. Maria?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, hello, hi. I guess I don't want to spend more of your time. We also live on 190 East O'Keefe Street, and we've been here for 7 years. And I wanted to just second everyone who also lives here, all the concerns. I would definitely share 100% all of these concerns. And one more thing that I wanted to add was that we have noticed cars parked on the part of the curbside, but also cars parked with alarm in front of the exit. So in certain cases, there were cars parked on the red spots, and they were together with other cars. So the density that Lyra mentioned is so big, is so intense that sometimes it takes time for the exit to clear because of all the cars who are violating the red spots. It's not only one person or one case that is not parked correctly, but it is also cases where we have found cars being together and blocking the exit, including the parking, the red lines, including the exit part, which is supposed to be clear all the time. So it has happened a lot of times that we want to exit and we really find it hard until it's cleared and we're out. So I guess the enforcement is very, very important there. I don't know if we should put signs or things on the street so that the cars physically cannot really go there and park, but that would be another idea. So that's it for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maria.
It actually looks like we have 2 new public commenters. Let's go to Diego.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Diego. I lived at East O'Keefe, 190 East O'Keefe for 8 years. And I don't have any new arguments to offer, but I just want to second what was said by Sarah, Maria, Nina, and Lyra, that this is not an isolated thing, that they are the only ones that care about. Everyone in this complex is feeling this, right? So I just wanted to say this, that it's a consensus here that we are all suffering that every day. When we get out, we have to make a leap of faith in many cases, to get on the street because we don't see what's coming. Right? So just that.
Thank you, Diego.
The next public commenter is Olga Gorbacheva. You are now the public speaker. Hi, Olga, are you there?
Olga? It looks like you're unmuted. Can you hear us? Oh, nope, muted.
You're still muted if you'd like to make a public comment.
Through the chair, perhaps we'll just continue the conversation, and if
yeah,
Mr. Gorbachev can, I think I see an unmute. Maybe let's give it one more second.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Olga, we see your hand raised and you're unmuted. Would you like to make a comment? Okay.
Yeah, I think this is probably a speaker issue.
Yeah. So per Kevin, we will just continue the conversation, and Olga will let us know if she's able to make a comment, I guess. So appreciate all the public comments. That was very helpful. May I ask the commissioners if they have any comments at this time about the 3 proposals to remove parking at these 3 locations? Any hands going up? I do have some thoughts, having been to O'Keefe today. I'm looking for hands raised. Oh, Brian Altman, Commissioner Altman.
My take in listening to the comments was this is more complex than just painting red curbs. And lots of good feedback from the community. Lots of potential complexity to this. So it might be good to go back and take a broader look at it rather than just painting red curbs. I mean, there are 2 incidences of accidents just today. I mean, it's speaks pretty loudly. There's probably a lot more complex issues on Roble, with traffic overlap, parking overlap, line of sight, et cetera. So maybe it might be worth to go back and look, maybe a broader look at some of these more complex issues.
Thank you, Commissioner Altman. Does anyone have another hand raised? Any other commissioner would like to make a comment? Katie, Commissioner Bruzy.
I guess my question is from a purely, having observed that we're kind of breaking the law when it comes to not having long enough red curbs, aren't we sort of obligated to do that now, regardless of what other things we do? I mean, to me, it seems like the city is exposed to tremendous liability if we've sort of acknowledged that we have inadequate sightlines and somebody, we decide we're going to complicate it a little bit and we don't do anything yet, and then somebody gets hit 6 months from now. Can I just get a read on that from staff?
Kevin?
Yeah, and I think Commissioner Bruzy definitely bring up a good point. So did Commissioner Altman. So what I would recommend is that for tonight, we proceed with the staff's recommendation of your voting on the red curves. And I would encourage, it sounds like there's also a conversation to be had about enforcement and potentially speeding issues. So from transportation team, we have a monthly meeting with our police department. So we can certainly bring that to their attention and see if they can help us assist with some of the enforcements. Separately, I would encourage that because I have the names of the public speakers, but I don't have their contact info. For those that would like to reach out to staff and have a deeper conversation about some of the observations that you had, experiences that you had. My name is Kevin Chen. You can easily get my contact info on the website, and we'd be happy to have those conversations offline to see what else we can do to assist the conditions that they've spoken.
So I have go ahead.
I know, I was just going to say very quick follow on. Kevin, I think that's awesome that you offered to have a further conversation, because as I learned last night, 3 minutes is not too long for public comment. And this is a very critical situation for the folks who live there. Kevin, can you just quickly provide your email address? I think that might make it facilitate people reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. So my email is K, which stands for the Kevin, Chen, which is the last name. So it's kchen@menlopark.org.
Thank you. Commissioner Bruzy?
I did want to dig in a little bit to that comment. So a number of people from 190 East O'Keefe had said that they thought the one parking spot on one side and two on the other, that maybe that was imbalanced or there were some sightline issues. And I just wanted to follow up on that and see what staff had to say about that.
Yeah, certainly. And I think coming from, FU's perspective, that additional park allowed them to essentially kind of see the curve and the curvature is sort of an advantage to the person that's on the driveway side. Typically, if the curve was the other way, then I would definitely say that, yeah, we probably would need to remove a couple more spaces. Certainly, if the commission as a whole feel like removing that additional space is to the advantage of the residents, and obviously it would just kind of allow people to see a little bit further. That it is certainly on the table if the commission would like to go that route. What I would recommend then is, because the postcards that we send out, plus as well as the A-frame that are out there, indicate that the commission tonight is only removing one space on that side, that we would approve that item, but we would bring back the item again at the next meeting as a consent item. That way we can have the official voting for that second space. So that way staff can at least go out there, get that space taken care of. Because like Commissioner Bruzy said, it is sort of a something we want to address as soon as possible. And there is still an appeal period that we need to address as well. So I would say, let's go, if the commission as a whole will vote yes on the item, we'll go ahead and implement that. And then next month we'll come back with another resolution to remove that second space.
I would like to follow up on what Kevin said, and also Katie. Katie, thank you. Excuse me, Commissioner Bruzy, thank you for raising that again, because I am not an expert on 190 O'Keefe. I've only been there once, which was today. but I made sure to just back up my car and simulate if I were leaving this apartment building, what would my line of sight be? I really wanted to experience that firsthand. And as everyone knows, when I was asking clarifying questions of Fu, I did ask about that exact thing. Did you think about removing 2 spaces on the left side? So I think for my gut feeling is that if I, as average citizen, for one instance, thought it would really be helpful if another space was gone on that side, that curve is tricky. I definitely saw people speeding around it. That I would like to offer that as a suggest that, as he said, as an item on the agenda for the next meeting we have. I want to agree with Kevin as well, and also Commissioner Altman. I so appreciate the public's input because I do think a number of issues were surfaced that we are very interested in addressing. Delivery trucks on that blind curve. Gosh, I saw that blind curve today. I would not want to see a delivery truck or anyone second and third parking in that area. Excessive speed, as Kevin mentioned, potentially putting bollards or something to enforce it better. I think a lot of those issues really, really appreciated the public input. And I think we need to take a larger look at the complexity of that particular exit. Having just done it today, I will say it was not an easy, it was a bit of a scary experience. So my motion would be to approve, I'm sorry, we're approving each one separately. So can we just deal with O'Keefe right now to say that my motion would be to approve the recommendation to eliminate a parking space on the north side of the exit 190 East O'Keefe, and then 2 on the south side, and then to raise this, put this back on the agenda for the next meeting to consider removal of a second space on the north side. This is not part of the motion, that's a period, end of sentence, but I want to say that we will look at the other issues that were raised around this area of O'Keefe. Staff will look at those. Do I have a second on the motion about East O'Keefe?
I'll second that motion.
Great. So just to reiterate, so we have Chair Cole motion essentially the approval of the item and adding asking staff to return at the next meeting for a second additional space on the north side to the north of the driveway. So, and then a second by Commissioner Peruzzi.
And she also mentioned coming up with
yes,
not ignoring the other issues, right? The issues
Yeah.
that were explained around enforcement. I'm sure there are visibility issues in other driveways, and I would say speed. I wanted to say, we can talk about this now because I've seconded it, right? I feel we get a lot of requests for single family home neighborhoods to get speed bumps. We do not have as much on-street parking in those neighborhoods as we do in some of these neighborhoods that are much higher density. And I'm not necessarily hearing the same requests, but we have a lot of people from 190 East O'Keefe tonight who have all expressed that this is a challenge for them and they've lived there for a long time. And I would love to see our city looking at sort of the overlap between not just on East O'Keefe, but other places where we have higher density and a lot of on-street parking and sort of speeding potential. If we can do some proactive consideration around traffic calming there, especially if we're seeing a lot of even minor like accidents with people coming out of their driveways. We shouldn't have to wait for people necessarily to go through the NTMP for something like that, maybe, is what I would like to propose.
Yeah, I agree, Katie. Let me ask Kevin for guidance. Can I add to the motion? Can the motion be with respect to the resolution proposed for removing parking spaces on 190 East O'Keefe? We are approving the resolution, one to the north, to the south, and recommend that staff bring the issue of removing that second space to the north next meeting. And then can I include in the motion, we also request that staff look into the additional issues raised around that particular exit and area of 190 East O'Keefe, including excessive speed and enforcement of, if there are other enforcement measures that could be implemented to make sure people don't park in that red zone.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
I think that's, we can certainly definitely happy to accept that that friendly amendment as well. And as I mentioned earlier, staff is fully engaging with the residents. So hopefully they'll contact us at their earliest convenience. And yeah, and I also wanted to just kind of highlight that, part of Oki is Palo Alto, right? So we to the extent possible, we do probably need some coordination after we learn of the issues that the resident have spoke of a little bit earlier. The other thing that I also wanted to kind of address the comment that Commissioner Peruzzi mentioned is that we are currently looking at different ways to be more proactive and looking at some of those more prominent issues that have been mentioned, looking for different ways to address them. So while we definitely appreciate the feedbacks that we're getting from the resident on a case-by-case scenario, we are definitely taking other opportunities to look at it from a citywide and a more systematic level. So might take some time, but we are definitely hearing that feedback from even previous items that are similar to this, and we're definitely taking the appropriate approach towards that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners Peruzzi and Altman, for your input. And of course, the members of the public.
Great, sorry. So with that being said, I do have a motion in the second for 190. So if I can, the commissioners that would like to vote yes, you can please hold up your hand for a couple of seconds. And I believe I'm seeing unanimous votes. Great, thank you. And then I suppose we can just move on to the second item, which would be, in this case, 660 Roble Avenue. If I can have a motion in a second.
Well, does anyone have any comments? There was a member of the public, Carol Collins, who made, who's the owner of a property on that road. And she made some comments, and I wondered if anyone and any commissioner had a comment about the Roble proposal, removal of parking, or might have been by Commissioner Peruzzi.
I'm always good for a comment. I will say that I'm sympathetic always to this challenge of lots of people living in apartments, not enough parking, overnight parking spaces, the confluence of garbage cans and driveways. And this is a problem that we have partly because, if I'll get on my soapbox for a minute, we have inadequate housing for people in our community. Off my soapbox now. And a lot of people living in small spaces, so more cars. But I come back to this issue of legality and liability and safety. And I get that it's a challenge. It's not going to be more of a challenge on Roble than it is in East O'Keefe, I guarantee you. But I think we should be consistent. If staff brings something like this to us, my position would be that unless there's a really good reason not to do it, we should be doing it, and we should be being fairly even-handed across different locations in the city. That would be my input.
Thank you, Commissioner Peruzzi. Kevin, do you have, I think the perspective that Katie has offered is important, because having surfaced that we're not in compliance, does that mean that to be in compliance, we should approve the removal of these spaces solely on the basis of being in compliance? That's my question for Kevin. I do want to add, before Kevin answers that having been to Roble today, I appreciated what member of the public, Carol Collins, did say about the bush. It was very untended. I'm not I don't own an apartment building. I'm afraid I don't know much about obligations to keep a property in good shape. But I think that, and I don't know if we can require this, apologies, I don't know the rules around this stuff, but it could have used a really good removal. It was definitely not helping the line of sight for someone leaving that building and looking left toward El Camino, which is obviously, and there's that little mall there where there's like a Supercuts where that Starbucks used to be, right there on the corner of Roble and El Camino. So I'm assuming that that's a popular place to go in and out of, and so helpful as you're leaving that apartment building to look left and have a good line of sight from people coming from El Camino, and I guess that whole mall across El Camino, which contains like Staples and Bevmo and Sports 5 or whatever, Big Sports or something. So my question is, one, Kevin, Can you help us to understand whether your recommendation is baseline, let's approve the removal of these spaces to be in compliance with the number of feet necessary? And then two, is there anything we can do to speak with the property owner? I think at the minimum, since the city is helping get up to code there, can he help by removing the obstruction of this bush, the portion that is obstructing the line of sight?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's, we can certainly loop in our co-enforcement division and have them kind of do an assessment of the evaluation. That obviously will help with the assessment as well. So certainly, I think that is something that is certainly on the table. We received that comment and we'll definitely proceed with that in mind. I will say that in terms of maybe the verbiage might be a little bit different with compliance versus, guidance or law.
Yes, thank you.
We are kind of using a set of guidelines that have been established from a national-wide standpoint, state level standpoint. So, certainly it is something that staff, once we have a chance to evaluate and kind of compare the existing conditions against some of the standards and guidelines that have been set, we certainly want to make sure that those minimum distances are met, which is partially why we're here tonight. So certainly understand the frustration and sort of the pull and push between removing parking and then also the inconvenience that creates to some of the residents around that area. But certainly wanted to kind of highlight that as well.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a follow-up? Because I'm really curious about this. So I just looked up the city code on bushes and things. And there's one that's just about trimming growth to avoid interference with use of sidewalks and roadways. But there's another that's required trimming of trees, shrubs, and hedges adjacent to street corners. And I'm curious, from staff's perspective, are driveways considered street corners?
So there are. So I think in that particular one that you mentioned might have been referring to corner properties.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really just because these are intersections. They're like miniature intersections.
Right. Yeah. Certainly. So from our perspective, we want to make sure that whatever the obstruction is, we want to make sure that they are not obstructing the line of sight. Right. Yeah. So certainly from our perspective, the line of sight might vary a little bit depending on where the driveway is situated versus, where the sidewalk is situated versus where the kind of the shrubbery that's in question is situated. I did get a chance to look at the Google Street View. Certainly it looks like it is kind of coming out towards the sidewalk a little bit. However, it does look like it's at least a majority is behind the sidewalk. So as a driver that's on the driveway, as you're approaching Robles, your line of sight probably would be past that point at that point. But with that being said, we still go out there one more time just to make sure that our observation is certainly up to the standard that we're talking about.
All right, then. Well, with that being said, let's go back and look where we are with our participants. If there's anyone else with their hand raised, Commissioner Abruzzi, is your hand raised for another wonderful comment? No. Okay. Is there anyone else in the commission who wants to make a comment? No. Do I have a motion then about Roble?
I move to accept the staff recommendation.
Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, JK.
Thank you.
Oh, it looks like Commissioner Altman also.
I have a comment. I think we should add, as we did with the other one, we should add an outreach, a follow-up outreach. As just to get input from the community in that area about other things that are happening on that street that may be affecting safety. So I'm up for the proposal, but add to it a follow-up like we did with the other one.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion.
It's fair. Okay.
And I would add the bush to the motion as well. I forgot about that. I would encourage staff to go look at that and not just on the street view, but see the current status of the bush.
Plus a reach out. Yeah, plus a reach out. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And the outreach.
We had five postcards before, but in this meeting we had 5-6 comments. I think it's really important to get back to the people that commented and tonight's call, follow up with them, and just do what we can do to encourage, communication.
Yeah, certainly. So we did have one public comment. I believe Carol Collins. So again, I think I still see Carol on the phone call here or the Zoom call. So certainly feel free to reach out to us. We also had the resident who made the original request. So we'll be happy to reach out to that resident just to make sure that all the comments have been heard and see if there's anything else that we can do to address their potential issues.
All right, then. So do we want to vote on that motion then?
So I do have a motion by Commissioner Baruzzi, a second by Commissioner Jensen. So for those that would like to vote yes, you can please hold your hand up. I believe that's unanimous. Great, thank you very much. And then I believe we have one more, which is the University in Live Oak.
Yes. Do we have any commissioner feedback on that proposal? I also went and looked at that today. The photo that Fu showed was a bit the way I myself saw it, which was there was no one occupying, no cars were occupying those spaces. It was a bit more difficult at that intersection for me to tell the line of sight issues. But I did, it's close to the Drager's corner at Menlo Avenue. I think there was a white pickup truck, a couple of, when I was there, a couple of spaces in, and I could absolutely see that if there were a car parked any closer to me and I were turning right off that, it would be difficult. I can't say I could make a full evaluation because I just didn't see cars parked, but as Commissioner Baruzzi has pointed out, I think it is important to follow the guidance that Kevin referred to and remove those spaces. So I am in support. And I guess I don't see anyone else speaking. I will just go ahead and make a motion to accept the staff recommendation to remove the parking spaces, two to the south and two to the north at the corner of Live Oak and University.
I will second that.
Okay, great, thank you very much. So we do have a motion and a second on the table. So again, commissioners that would like to vote yes, you can please hold your hand up for a couple of seconds. Great, I believe that's unanimous. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on the agenda is E3, which is to evaluate the commission subcommittees to support city council priorities. And I'd like to ask Kevin, our senior transportation engineer, City of Menlo Park, to introduce this item.
Great, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I'll keep my remark brief. This is essentially an item that was on our July calendar, but has since postponed to this meeting. Really, the one particular item that I wanted to mention would be that the Safe Route to School subcommittee does have the responsibility of evaluating the program. So as a result of that, I know only Commissioner Baruzzi, which is one of the three members on that subcommittee, is here tonight. So certainly wanted to make sure that just bring awareness to that subcommittee and that staff will subsequently reach out to them separately about that effort. But other than that, I'll open the floor up if there's any commissioners that would like to either show some interest in joining a subcommittee, or if they would like to remove themselves from a subcommittee. I want to take this opportunity to be able to conduct that here tonight.
Okay, do we have any, as Kevin's asked, do we have any comments from the commissioners present around their involvement in the subcommittees, whether they want to remove themselves from one that they're on, or whether they would like to change and add something, or that they want to? If I'm not mistaken, Kevin, would you like me to do this, or would you like to just state the 5 subcommittees again? Is that helpful to people?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. Apologies.
I can go. I'm going to go ahead and just state 5 subcommittees: downtown access and parking, multimodal metrics, safe routes to school program, transportation master plan implementation, and zero emission. Any thoughts from anyone? I have one thing I'd like to talk about, but I'm going to wait to see if any of our commissioners like to speak. Okay. Oh, yeah, there's someone. JK. Well,
Yeah, I
Commissioner
can.
Excuse me.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. I'm currently the only member of the Zero Emission Subcommittee, and I know we had some discussions before about like the merits of having a subcommittee dedicated to the zero emission effort. I think we had the Climate Action Plan subcommittee, and then we kind of
That's correct.
subsidized those two together. I think there's still like a fair amount of work there with, or like possibility there with the efforts the city council has been working on lately. And I'd love to have additional support in that subcommittee. I haven't made a lot of progress over the last while, and I think there's like there is still low hanging fruit with some of the like shared scooter, dockless scooter or bike pilot and things like that, as well as the e-bike efforts going on across the Bay. And so just want to kind of advocate for my subcommittee if anyone's interested in joining me and wants to kind of talk through possible things there.
I'm so happy that you spoke out, because I do think it would be very challenging to be the only person on a subcommittee. You need a little traction, you need a little partnership, companionship, you need some energy. So I think that's an excellent ask. I have some thoughts there, but any off the bat, does anyone on the call, any commissioners feel inclined to join zero emission? Obviously, this is a very important priority for Menlo Park. So is anyone able to spend time on that with Commissioner Jensen?
If staff might be able, if I can step in real quick.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just see Commissioner Brizzi, but I just keep my remarks brief. I think kind of given the previous actions that we had, which was combining, well, sort of combining the Climate Action Plan subcommittee along with the Zero Emissions subcommittee, along with the idea that Commissioner Jensen, there are some specific areas that he is interested in exploring. Perhaps what I recommend is for staff to reach out to Commissioner Jensen separately offline. We can kind of craft some ideas in terms of what that subcommittee wants to do. And then maybe once we have a more clear idea of what that subcommittee's goals are, we can come back, present that to the commission. And then at that point, if any other commissioners are interested in those particular topics, then perhaps it gives them a better opportunity to see if they wanted to join. That would probably be my recommendation.
Could I make a cheeky request to staff, which I know we're not supposed to do because you all have so much to do already? I would love to see, I guess I want to make sure that every subcommittee that we have has actually got some kind of active charge, and that we're, there's something we're meant to be doing, and that it aligns with the staff goals and the council goals. And, I'm on 4 subcommittees. I don't think any one of them has met recently. And I also think it's probably not a bad time to sort of have a check-in with commissioners and find out, what their bandwidth is, what they're excited about working on. And I wonder how much of that can be done offline through staff or the chair without violating the Brown Act. I obviously being mindful of that, but I would love to, and then somebody could come up with a proposal. Like, it looks like this is going to be the work product this year. It looks like these are the relevant subcommittees, and, at least you can prime the pump that way. And I'm also mindful of the fact that 2 commissioners aren't here tonight.
Yes.
I was going to nominate Commissioner Seabrian for everything, actually. I feel like zero emissions is definitely her bag. She rides around town on that e-bike. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate, first of all, let's put Jackie on everything while she's not on the call. So I appreciate your comment, Commissioner Brizzi, around doing one-on-one check-ins. Folks on the call know that when, I've been working on doing that with everyone since I started. I haven't finished, so apologies there. But I do think, Kevin, maybe you and I can chat tomorrow. I'd be very happy to get on calls, Kevin, Sally, and X, and go through every commissioner and talk a little bit about what they want to focus on this year. I think for me, the key word is focus. I'm going to insist that Commissioner Brizzi get off one of her 4 subcommittees, for example. I think, she's busy. But I do think that to make the progress we need on some of these issues, important issues to Menlo Park that are embedded in these subcommittee topics. I don't want folks to be spread too thin. Everyone's busy, and I think focus is important. So if okay with you, Kevin, maybe an action item, not a motion, but an action item here would just be for Kevin and me to go and talk with each person individually, focusing on what they really want to do this year and what that might be, and then what the council priorities are within each topic. I've gotten to know some of you better, and I've really enjoyed that. And in doing that, I can actually, I feel like in the back of my mind, I have some recommendations, maybe moving people around a little bit. When it comes to safe routes to school, one of the things Kevin and I have spoken about, and I appreciate him flagging to me, is that this year the council has asked us to evaluate that program, and that will take some time. So, maybe it's possible that Jackie Sebrian or Katie or whomever would want to move off that, go to something else they want to be more focused on. I'm happy to jump on safe routes or zero emission or some other one as a bit of a utility infielder to advance the work of one of the subcommittees if we have some movement of commissioner assignments. So do we want to leave it there, since we don't have Liz and Jackie, and they're both on safe routes to school? So I think this is requiring sort of further conversation from the one we can have now. Kevin, would you be up for doing the one-on-one conversations with me with each commissioner? Is that a good action item for us?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and definitely staff is here to support the commission as a whole, and definitely the subcommittee. So I definitely welcome that conversation.
Okay, well, thank you, Commissioner Abruzzi, for recommending that. I think the only thing I'd say is to each commissioner, and I'll say this to Liz and Jackie as well, is the thing you pick, get ready a little bit, get ready to work on it, because this has been a fascinating education for me being on this commission. There's so many parts of Menlo Park that need us. We're important, and the work we do is important. So there's a number of different things that we can really move forward. And I don't know about you, but I really feel so inspired and somewhat energized by how quickly the staff was able to turn around recommendations for middle and get the public feedback, and then go to the council and move to the next phase. And my goodness, like, we're all going to be biking and walking and driving down middle and able to see the pilots and this work really happening. And I hope we all feel really energized by that. I know I do. And I'm really happy to see the work we do result in the streets being really great for all the residents of Menlo Park. We just got to keep moving to the next problem, the next issue that comes our way. Okay, so let's see. I guess, should we ask if there's any public comment on this topic? And do you think we need a motion on this? I don't think so. No. So should we ask, is this a public comment? Should we ask public comment?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
for
Thank you.
broad purposes, let's go ahead and do
Thank
that.
you. Patrick.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cole. Just really quick, for anyone else who might have joined, raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in and you have a public comment. It does not look like we have any public comments at this time.
Okay, then. Well, then we will thank you for the discussion, which we will continue in a different format. Let's move on to item F, which is informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the commission in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. So, let's see. I see. Okay. Patrick, do we have any public comment on any of our informational items, which appear to be one? Is this correct, Kevin, in this order? I'm asking for public comment before and then I'll say what the two items are. One, update on the site access and circulation for the proposed Willow Village master plan. Am I going in the right order, Kevin?
Yep.
Yep. And then two, update on major project status. So Kevin, sorry to be a bit fumbling here, but Kevin, should I ask update on the site access and circulation of the proposed Willow Village master plan project? Should we discuss that before the public comment or just ask for public comment on that?
I would recommend that maybe we just ask for public comments for this
Okay.
one. But if the commission wants to do so, happy to maybe have a conversation. My remark was going to be that, basically this is a summary based on
Yes.
conversations that we had previously, and
Yes.
then identifying some of the improvements that we were able to incorporate, and then some of the conversations that have taken place since then. That really kind of incorporates into that staff report. So we do not have a presentation, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. So hopefully, so I would definitely recommend that we open it up for public comments. So that way, if there are additional public comment questions that we might receive, the commission can choose to ask them to staff, and we can answer accordingly as well.
Okay, so Patrick, do we have any public comment on the staff's update on the site access and circulation for the proposed Willow Village Master Plan project?
We do not have any public comments.
Okay, Kevin, if it's okay, I'd like to say that I did read that staff report, and I really appreciated that a lot of the feedback that we offered to that Willow Village Master Plan project in, I believe, the June 8th meeting, it seemed that staff and Meta had considered our input and adjusted the plan in some places to reflect some of the issues we raised, and I appreciated that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, definitely credit to Christiane and Hugh for engaging that conversation.
Thank you to both of them. I really appreciated that. Okay, so update on major project status. Kevin, can you
Actually, can I make a comment quickly on this? Because I had a lot of things that
You did.
I think I was the person who didn't vote for it. I never do that, but I just wanted to comment. So I too appreciate this, and I also, I hope this isn't the end, right? I hope that when we get things as we get closer, as we do an iterative process on streets in our community. I don't know what it would be like in Willow Village, whether we'll have a similar opportunity. But I'd hope that we'd be able to make changes as a city to places where safety issues end up cropping up. I'm especially, looking at all the shuttle stops and thinking about pedestrians and shuttles and sight lines and stuff. I have a little bit of apprehension, but I trust our staff. The one thing I will say is Romain Tanier has been making public comments for years, not just tonight, about the intersections between that interface between East Palo Alto and Menlo Park in that area. And I was hoping that, as staff were hearing that they were thinking about how, if we're doing a local road safety plan, if we want to look back at the TMP and see what we thought we were going to do in those areas and how that might need to change based on what we now know. But I take that comment to heart. I do think that's an area that we will probably want to be spending some more attention on at some point, not too long from now. And I appreciate Mr. Tanier coming and making that comment again tonight, bringing it to our attention.
I'm glad you raised that because I'm not familiar with that. So I was going to do a little backgrounding on the issues he was raising, and I will do that. Okay then. So moving on, Kevin, I think you were going to discuss this update on major project status.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I just have a few quick status updates on various projects that we have. First and foremost is the quiet zone analysis for those that are interested. We're currently going through the existing condition analysis. So we're hoping once that gets wrapped up, we'll be able to come back to the community, perhaps with a community meeting and then followed by a commission meeting. So definitely want to stay tuned for that if you are interested. Also the Camino Real crossing. So this is the missing approach at the various signals, the 3 signal locations along Camino, currently under review by Caltrain. They're reviewing the work, so definitely something that if you're interested, you want to keep an eye on as well. From a regional standpoint, I also want to quickly highlight that Caltrain is currently working on a corridor-wide grade separation strategic plan. So this is something that I think it's been in work for a while now. So they do have a consultant on board. So this is something that staff from the city level is definitely want to make sure that we are following along with that as well. So staff will definitely be staying tuned, and if there's any additional report that needs to be shared with the commission, we'll make sure to do so as well. So with that being said, I will conclude my stats of it.
Thank you. Should we ask for public comment on your comments?
Yes.
Patrick, do we have any public comments on Kevin's project status updates?
I'll give it a second, but it does not look like we have any public comments.
Okay, do we have any commissioner comments? I guess I feel that it was a timely add by Kevin because it emphasized my point that we have a lot going on. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for keeping us updated. All right, then let's move on to the next item, which is, do we have any updates from our subcommittees that anyone would like to offer? Any committee or subcommittee reports from any commissioners? Okay, I am going to look on the participants list again. Absolutely sure. Nothing else. Okay, then. Well, my dear fellow commissioners, I think we can adjourn the meeting. I think that's deserved because we certainly put a lot into our Middle Avenue project, which was successfully discussed last night by the council. So feel proud of the work you've done and the work ahead. And thank you again for your participation tonight and your time and service to the city. We will see you next time. We are adjourning this meeting at 8:43 p.m.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Take care.